Hello, welcome to Bridlington on Friday the 5th of December 2025. There's a wind from the south-southwest at 11 miles an hour, air temperature 3C, real field temperature about 0. And it's a low tide in a couple of hours time at Bridlington Harbour. So we'll walk through town here and have a look. Again, recording Bridlington for posterity. The first video I did on my channel was walking through here right after the end of the lockdown of the COVID pandemic. And you can see it's very largely rejuvenated. Bridlington looked to be in an absolutely terrible situation economically after the end of the COVID pandemic. I walked through here and it was semi-derelict was the town. The pavement was covered in seagull droppings, which had gone probably about 3 years. It was tremendously improved now anyway, but it may not seem it at first glance. You've only got to look at my first video to see, in fact, that there's a big change. This is the Brunswick Hotel on my left. There's the town central toilet block. We could have a walk down here, past the Stirling Castle, have a look out over Bridlington South Beach. It's a very gently sloping beach on the south side of Bridlington. There at the back you've got the wind turbines. Beautiful day to be at Bridlington in midwinter. A surprise, in fact, to see the sun shining. Because this winter, where we are anyway, in West Yorkshire, it's been one of the heaviest rainfalls, I think, in November and December for quite a few years. And over there at the back of the harbour, underneath the sun, you've got the south pier of Bridlington with some of the fishing fleet, the lobster fishing fleet tied up, or rather moored. Bridlington boat lift there, silhouetted against the morning sun. Don't you think there's a beautiful sort of industrial beauty looking at that? And then over there, now in the centre of the picture, you've got the fish dock, the fish terminal. Bridlington Harbour with the Gypsy Race River flowing through it. Well, that's Bridlington Chicken Run Pier here, and my very earliest memories at Bridlington probably go back to about 1950. I was born in 1948, and I can remember walking onto that pier, or being taken onto it as a very small toddler, and it was wood at that time. I mean, now obviously it's made of steel, as are all the piers in Bridlington and most of the places, but yeah, it was the end of the old wooden jetty there. And here, looking down into Bridlington Harbour, we can see some of the fishing cobbles and the holes in the mud where the gypsy race dredger has been digging, clearing the mud from the harbour. And again, regrettably, I've got this situation where I can't take my gloves off, it's too cold. So this is one, more or less one continuous take, as it were. Feels absolutely beautiful here in Bridlington, with the chill air of winter blowing through this triple layer of fleece that I'm wearing. Again, you've got the fish dock. In the lower right of the picture there, you've got a lot of seabirds. They're not seagulls, they look like some sort of shoreline birds. Being a landlubber from West Yorkshire, I don't know what they're called, unfortunately. Although I have seen many such things in the fields of West Yorkshire where we live back in the 1950s. Seemed to be a lot more wildlife around at that time. Here we can see the work of the dredger. And over here we've got the gypsy race dredger. Behind it you might just be able to see the pirate ship, which was in for maintenance at the last video I did a few days ago. This being a sort of a built-up area. I think in the 1970s this was all built up. It used to be quite narrow here, just a sort of a pathway along here, and all of this was widened out. At the time, the joke was, where we live, that they'd widened this so the harbour master could get his car along to his office. Of course, it was just part of the improvements to Bridlington Harbour, managed by Bridlington Harbour Commissioners. I think that's been a situation for several hundred years. I'm not sure when, hundreds of years ago, that Harbour Commissioners were put in place to manage these harbours around the UK. So the boatyard at the back there was part of the improvements, I think in the 1970s. This Bridlington Crane Wharf, I mean, I'm here mainly to look at the beauty of the picture, the beauty of the sunrise over these structures, which don't look very much when you've got the overhead sun in midsummer, but I think they look absolutely beautiful. when you look at them like that backlit. But this pier, built in about 1958. And in case you're wondering, you might just see the old tyres there that were embedded in the structure when it was made are still there. 1958 to the present date. I'll just take a slight walk down some of these steps. There you can see the harbour. Well, we're standing now on top of the old sea latrine, and at some point I can remember several decades back they sort of dug this area up, went down there. Not sure what they were doing, whether they were sealing passageways off or what. Now there's the harbour light, just to the right of the sun. And here we see the walkway. I don't know whether you can make this out in the video, but there's a walkway along there where the old pleasure boats, pleasure steamers used to pull up. The Yorkshire Belle now being the only big one left. I think they're Flamboyant, or the Boyzone, now a houseboat in Paris. I'm not too sure about that. Here we have the beauty of Bridlington North Beach and the cliffs, the white chalk cliffs of Flamborough Head in the background. Now this beach is totally underwater at high tide, as you can probably see from the marks there, the sea level on the harbour, sorry, on the seawall north of Bridlington Harbour. Now there's just a little bit right over there in the distance that seems to stay as an open beach during high tide, but this is quite a dangerous area, and it's worth pointing it out because it's possible to come down here, walk out in that direction and totally lose all sense of direction. For example, if it's dark, it's sometimes quite difficult to find these steps. If you can see how that blends in there, and if you imagine you were stood on the harbour wall at the back, you wouldn't be able to see, I don't think, in the dark, how to get back up. And you can see here how the wall of the harbour is actually sheer. So for anybody who's walked right out there towards the end in the darkness, you can't get to safety climbing up the harbour wall, which, if we look in this direction, it is possible to clamber up at least a few steps there and make your way around. Over there we have the lobster fishing boat Genesis, registered at Hull by the look of that, and the number is H37. Looking to the back of the harbour there, you've got more lobster fishing boats, and then you've got the marina part of the harbour right at the back. Bridlington Crane Wharf there with lots of stones underneath it. This old structure, which used to be for fishing cobbles to pull up, used to be some really big fishing cobbles at Bridlington. Bigger, I think, even than the Three Brothers, which again is at the back of the harbour. I thought I would just walk down here and have a look at the harbour master's office. We've got these beautiful buildings at Bridlington, maintained in white, cream and blue. And in fact that sort of trend of colour, I don't know whether it's sort of legislated, but it sort of goes all along the houses along there, beautiful white colour. Again, standing at this point where, if you've watched a lot of my videos, we've often stood here. It's always different, the light is different, the tide is different. Let's have a look at the Wharf Cafe here and have a look at some of the prices there. Hot sandwiches, bacon £3.20, sausage £3.20, tea £2, coffee £2.50, sausage sandwich with caramelised onion and chutney. Never heard of that one before, not caramelised anyway. Caramelised, that means sugar, doesn't it? With a pirate ship on the left there, further fishing boats out there, that's H37 over there. We'll walk down and have a look at the harbour office here, where you can see the high tide and low tide for today. And here we've got some of the port services and wharfage charges. Harbour dues, fish landing dues, I don't know whether you can see that. Fish landing dues, 4.3 pence per £1 of value landed, inclusive of berthing charge and water. And looking here, we've got various prices. I'll walk up here, up these steps, where I'm not sure this is the responsibility of Bridlington Town Council. I'd be amazed if it was, because you've got this metal pole here that you can walk into. You'll notice there's no sort of protection for you doing that. You could just be poorly sighted, walk smack into that, break your glasses, and that's been there in fact since the 1970s. Just something to be aware of. If you come up those steps, be aware of that. If you're a new visitor to Bridlington, which is a beautiful place to visit, I think, especially in winter, and unique, I think, in the sense that you've got the white chalk cliffs. Now, going further south, the nearest white chalk cliffs are on the south coast of the UK. Let's have a look at this piece of art, which you'll see some names of the places there, weather. Let's have a look at this, try and see what it means. I'm not sure what it means, but that looks like Bridlington Harbour on the right there. You can just see over there the harbour as it is today, and I'll stand here. Sorry about the bin, very badly placed bin, don't you think that? When you think about it, when you could have the view of the harbour and this, but someone's placed a bin there. So looking at this again, you've got the harbour, and you've got those sailing ships there, which look to be in a terrible condition if they seem to be coming straight onto the beach. Loads of people there. Perhaps it's a storm and they're being driven in. And just the outline of a sailing ship there. A lot of people on the beach. Bridlington, of course, like many other seaside places or ports, has been the scene of great tragedies out on the sea and on the beach. South Beach in particular, and around Flamborough Head there, where there have been many wrecked ships when sometimes suddenly the wind has changed direction. Bridlington, often considered in the days of sailing ships to be a safe haven. That is until the wind changed and blew in from the south, sometimes catching ships out. There are a lot of sail ships carrying coal wrecked there at one point, with great loss of life. And here, as we look out at the beauty of Bridlington North Pier and the low sun, it's now 10:42, and at this point I'll end this video from Bridlington. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care now, and goodbye for now.